Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rovis Rants. This is my second episode of my YouTube channel. If you missed the first one, please go back and take a look. It just kind of gives you an introduction as to what the channel is about and the kind of topics we'll be discussing. Before I go any further, I forgot to mention in my introduction, and I think it's important to shout out to All We Talk is Sports on Facebook. They were the first ones who asked me to become a moderator on their page, and it sort of brought me into more of the sports community and being able to interact with different members. So I appreciate them getting me into this kind of role, and I think if it wasn't for that stepping stone, I probably wouldn't have decided to start a YouTube channel. So thank you to All We Talk is Sports. If you're not on that page, please go and look for it. It's All We Talk is Sports. They also have a YouTube channel that they're starting, and I especially want to thank the admin, Ty and Daryl, for all their support. They've allowed me to post my YouTube channel on their page, which obviously means a lot to me and hopefully will bring me more viewership. Ty also has his own channel. It's Ty Ray TV. So it's TYRHEA TV. So please go over and check out his channel and subscribe, and share. If you haven't already become a subscriber to my channel, I would truly appreciate taking the couple of seconds to click the subscribe button, share, and make comments. Especially in today's topic, I think there's going to be a lot of a lot of comments that I think I need to specifically say that we need to be respectful of everybody's opinion. Not everybody is going to have the same opinion as everybody. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. You may agree to disagree, but I ask that in your comment section that you ensure that you are respectful of other persons in the chat. Today's topic is going to be about Colin Kaepernick, and that can be very divisive. But it can also be a way to learn from each other's points of views, hear different perspectives. Maybe there's something that you'll learn here today that you never thought about before, or a different viewpoint that may make you think, there might be something to that. So, again, be respectful in your chat. Please do not call somebody a racist because they do not agree with your opinion. Just because somebody doesn't agree doesn't mean they're a racist, especially when it comes to this topic. At least that's my opinion, and that's how I would like to see the chat progress. So, as I mentioned, today's topic is on Colin Kaepernick. We'll start out with, his youth. He was born to a black father with a white mother. He was then adopted by two white parents, and they lived in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, I'm not American. I don't live there. My understanding, though, it is predominantly a white community. So there may have been several struggles that Colin had to overcome, being one of the only black people in the community. Now, again, I'm going to use the term black and not African American because that is an American term. Most of the world uses the term black, and it's not to be used in a derogatory way, or if somebody finds that that's offensive, it's not that at all, at least in my perspective, and I think the perspective of many other people is just we're not American, so we're not going to say African American. So that's just to clarify that. Colin, growing up, obviously had struggles being one of the few black people in his community, as probably happens to a lot of children who are either black or of biracial descendants. So that may or may not have impacted his feelings, and his want to find some group to relate to. And I guess being somebody who's white, I can't, even if I try to empathize as much as I want to, I'll never know what it's like to be black. I'll never know the pure struggles. I'll never know the feelings behind it, how, a situation could make somebody feel. And I'm not going to pretend to. I can say you know, and it's that I have lots of black friends. I do, right? I was married to a black person. I have biracial children. So, I may not know the full scope of what it's like to be a black person. And again, I'll never pretend to do that. But, I have seen some things. All right. I also want to take note that, and maybe this is wrong, but I don't see the same things that I see portrayed in the news or even when I visited the US here in Canada. There's absolutely racism all over the world. That's, not something that you can pretend doesn't exist. But I don't think it exists to the point that it does in America. And that may, again, is my perspective from what I've seen, from visiting, from what I see, happening in the news. And obviously this may be part of Colin's perspective. Because he's biracial, he's been put in situations where he may have felt, I'm not white. Am I black? Where do I fit in? And maybe, when it got to the point where he got to his activism, he found his place. He found where he is comfortable. So, and just kind of giving a bit of that background, I want to now just kind of go into, I made notes, so I'm going to be looking up. I'm not looking to the sky. I've got some notes in front of me just so I don't miss anything. So Colin started his career with the 49ers. He had 6 years with them. It started in 2011, where he was a backup to Alex Smith. In mid-2012, he had his first starting opportunity. He did quite well in his role as the starting quarterback. He was able to bring them to the Super Bowl. He also bought an NFC championship. So first few years, everything's going great. Last year, so the 2016-2017 season was not a good year for him. He was 1 of 10 in passer rating, passer scoring. He he was listed, let me just check this, 29th of the two quarterbacks. So I think we can all agree his last year was not a good one. Is it comparable to some of the quarterbacks who are still playing in the NFL as backups? Probably. And so some people would argue, if so-and-so can play, why can't he play in the NFL? I think the big issue here is the fact that in 2017, he sued the NFL. And in doing so, obviously created some rifts. He settled in 2019 for an undisclosed amount with the NFL. And I want people to take a look at that perspective. If you as an employer had your employees sue you, would you rehire them? Because I don't think that a lot of people look at that perspective. And as somebody who, I'm in a management position myself, if an employee sued me, I'm not going to rehire them. Just because there's bad blood, whether you want to admit it or not, right? You've had to go down this road. There's issues that have probably come up through the process, the negotiations. I think he also refused to agree that he would, excuse me for that, somebody sending me a message. I think he also refused to say that he would no longer take a knee, which was what a lot of people speculate as the reason that he's not getting any calls or tryouts for the quarterback position. He was adamant in the beginning that he would only take a starting quarterback position. So that also took some jobs off the table, because they felt that, in his last year, he did have some decline. If you're 29th of 32 quarterbacks, you know, you know, especially with these new rookies coming out, and there's promise that, maybe they're going to have a much better year. So that obviously played a key role in, whether or not. So we have the fact that there was a decline in his performance. We have the fact that he sued the NFL. We have the fact that he, was taking a knee, which some fans found very offensive. My understanding is he spoke to a veteran, and this is the suggestion he was given. I personally don't have an issue with activism. If anybody knows me, I'm a very strong supporter of fighting for your rights and justice. I do, again, if I were to put my manager hat on, would say that if I had a choice between two employees, one who's going to cause me trouble, or maybe a distraction in the locker room, or have things on and off the court, I might lean towards the other player. And again, that would be personally a total business decision and not have anything to do with his activism. But some would say that there are several NFL owners who are racists. True or not true, that's what's out there. And some don't want to have to deal with that. The NFL as an organization themselves have a right. I looked this up in American law because, again, I'm Canadian, so I don't know what the laws are. So as a private organization, they have a right to set rules and standards when it comes to things like this. And they may just not want to have the groups divided, and people, who watch an NFL game say, I'm not going to watch the game because there's this activism stuff happening and I'm not interested in that, and turn off their TVs. And whether people believe it or not, there are some people who do that, right or wrong. That's just how it is. People don't agree with stuff, they turn it off. Other people felt that his kneeling was disrespectful to the flag. And again, maybe not be. But that's, his way of showing his support to the Black community for the brutality, the police brutality, and the unfairness that Black people are racialized in their communities, and the support that they're not getting. So I think we have to look at this in many perspectives. Again, he sued the NFL. My perspective as an employer would be I would not hire him back, since we've had that type of relationship. His last year of playing, there was a huge decline in play. Not to say that he could not. I mean, we all have bad days. We all have bad years, even during employment. And there's nothing to say that, that was just a slump year and, he was going to come back bigger and better the next year. But when his free agency came around in 2017, with the lack of, with the decline in his performance, as well as this increased activism, and another thing to look at as an employer would be, do you want somebody and who has strong opinions, floating those opinions at work? Because you have to remember, the field is their workplace. So as again, if I was looking at it as an employer, I would say, I have no problem with your activism, but please do it on your own time, not on the field. Most athletes have organizations that they represent, and maybe even talk to the NFL about doing some kind of partnership, or, like the some kind of thing to represent what's happening in the Black community, and the problems that maybe an NFL player could bring to the spotlight. I think that might have been a better approach. And again, I'm not saying what he did was wrong. I'm just saying, in my opinion, there's a time and a place. I personally would have worked with the NFL to find a way, and what that way is, I don't know. I would have to, sit and brainstorm. What is the best way to show your activism in a positive light that's not going to reflect on the actual game, offend some of the NFL population viewers? You know, was it to have some type of interview with some top person and view it right before the game or during a halftime show? I don't know. There's so many things that can be done. And again, I'm looking at this as an employer perspective, the issues that I would have. And if I had two employees that I had a choice of hiring, one who had sued my organization and had a downfall, and another person who has, didn't sue my organization, had, maybe equal stats, and who can be seen as somebody who's not going to be a distraction in the locker room. And again, I say distraction because for some it's not going to be, and for some it may be. I know that the NFL tried after to set up a tryout date for him, where, there were several teams that came out to view him. And an hour before, he canceled it and moved it to another site because he was not permitted to have cameras. And then it became the idea of, is this just a publicity stunt? Does he really want to play in the NFL, or is he just trying to promote himself, the Black community? And that's okay. If you want to be an activist for the Black community, you go for it. You have every right to do that. But in some may argue that you can't make your own rules. And again, if I look at it as an employer perspective, if I set up an interview with somebody and an hour before they're telling me, you know what, I'm not going to come to your office. I want you to come to this office and I'll meet you there, right? Because I want to be able to have, these other things in place. Again, for me, that would be a turnoff. And I'm sure that's one of the things that happened with Colin, with those tryouts. I think he had a chance to get back in the NFL personally, but I think he blew it when that I'll call it a stunt, for lack of a better word. He also was able to, make millions of dollars on a Nike collaboration, and something that he's just trying to sell his brand. Again, true, not true, some of it true, who knows? But his net worth currently is $20 million. So he has made some money, obviously, and he's done well with the Nike promotions. He has now said that he would take a backup quarterback position, and that he's still, fit to play. He's shown many videos that show that, he still has a great arm. What that looks like in an actual game, who knows whether he'll ever have the chance to play. It's been 6 years since he's played in the NFL, so, some may be hesitant. I know at one point Seattle was interested in taking a look, but they also said that they had their own starting quarterback at the time. Now, whether they'll relook at him as a backup, we'll see what happens. And again, I haven't heard much else of other teams taking much interest in his wanting to even play as a backup quarterback. I have recently, though, we've had some criticism from people like Antonio Brown, and take it as you like, because he's had his own antics off the field. And I don't want to say that Colin's activism is antics, sorry, so because that's probably not the right word. It's not at all antics. It's his beliefs, and he has a right to those beliefs, and he has a right to do what he thinks is right. And again, my position would be do it, just not on the field. That's just again my perspective, my little rant. But Antonio Brown has publicly come out on the Cigar podcast saying that Kaepernick is BS because where is he in the community? So he's making millions off the Nike promotion and saying I'm an activist, but when it comes down to being within the community, he did make some financial donation and set up a foundation, but he's not in the actual communities out there supporting them, at least in a way that Antonio Brown feels would be equivalent to what he says he stands for. There's been support for Colin Kaepernick by many other players because they don't feel that he should be blackballed. And this is the first time I'm using this word, and this is rant. But the idea is, was he blackballed? Why was he blackballed? Or was he chosen to not be given the opportunity because he was a bust after 6 years, and his numbers and his stats dropped quite significantly within a short period, within a few years. Most quarterbacks have a longer than 6 year career. 6 years for a quarterback is quite short. We also have the idea that there's other activists, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name. Let me just see if I can find it quickly here. Eric Reed also grieved in the league for kneeling, and he also settled in the court, but then he was signed with Carolina Panthers. So there's also the argument, well, if Eric Reed could get back into the NFL, why didn't he? Now, or was it because Colin was much more vocal in his activism than Eric Reed? Eric Reed took a knee, and so did other players. But in the negotiation process, did Colin say, I will not stop my activism? Is that the reason? So this is just some of my notes on Colin Kaepernick and whether he was a bust in the NFL or whether he was blackballed. I would love to hear your comments. Please comment in the section. Again, please be respectful. If you are able to subscribe, like, and share, it would be truly appreciated. I would love to do this full time. But I need to get those 1,000 likes and 4,000 viewing hours. And the only way I can do that is if I can get my members to assist me with that. And again, put in some comments, because that also helps the algorithms. Let me know what you think. Was he blackballed, or was it that his progress was stunted after his 6th year? Looking forward to hearing from you in the comment section. Eventually I will start doing some lives, but wanted to get a little bit more comfortable with doing the streaming on its own without the membership and things coming up on the screen. So again, please like, subscribe, and share. Comment in the section. Do you agree with him being he was blackballed, or was it that his stats just didn't allow for him to get another starting quarterback position? Do you agree with Antonio Brown and his position that he is all talk and no action. Do understand the perspective of the NFL and the fact that he, as an employer, probably would not be the first candidate that you would choose. So, again, here's my little rant on Colin Kaepernick. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you soon.